Welcome to Booked All Night Season 2. Each week, Jess, Katie, and Maggie launch into new worlds, discover amazing characters, and bring you the best bookish discussions under the stars. We're a cozy little corner of the internet, so be sure to leave a comment and join the polls after each episode. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss a chapter. Alright, my little Libranauts, grab a seat, grab a book, and join us as we explore some new pages. But hey, we're live, and we're doing our very first interview of Season 2, which is very exciting. And God willing, I'll have the whole thing cut together, and it'll be up on our Spotify page on Tuesday to start the season. Woo! So, Shelly, welcome to Booked All Night, our little itty-bitty corner of the internet here. Very nice to have you.
Having me.
Yes.
Thank you.
So we are talking about Brewed With Love, which is a YA cozy romance, which I've read some of, so we're not planning for a lot of spoilers today when we play our games, because I'm not done, so you can't spoil things. It's not fair. But can you give us a little pitch just to get us kicked off for Brewed With Love?
Yeah, of course. So Brewed With Love is a YA romantasy about a teen witch named Sage Bishop, who works at her family's apothecary and is desperate to save it from this kind of like giant superstore in the next town over. And while she's working, the store gets robbed and a cheerleader gets dosed with one of Sage's tonics. She has to investigate and figure out who broke into the store and figure out how to try to save her family apothecary from this superstore, all while trying not to fall for her ex-best friend turned coworker, Jimena.
Yes. The awkwardness between the two of them is so palpable. I feel bad for both of them. I'm reading through it because I always read at night and I'm just like, oh, I can't read this before I go to bed. I'm so awkward. I've got such secondhand embarrassment for the two of you. Just talk it out.
I know, yeah. It's always fun to kind of write that teen avoidance.
Yeah. The avoidance is real. It's just
yeah.
So what inspired the story behind Brewed With Love, and how did that idea take shape?
Yeah, so I was actually first inspired by the town. So this story is set in Black Claw Valley, which is it's fictional, but it's a tiny coastal town in California. And it's framed by redwood trees. And that kind of setting was what first inspired me to write the story, because my mom used to live in a small town in central coast of California that kind of had a similar feel to Black Claw Valley. And I was thinking wow, this is a perfect setting for a story. And I would really enjoy kind of exploring the different dynamics in the town. Mm-hmm. And then I also just really loved the trees there, the foliage. And I was thinking well, I really like magic. It should be something magical, something to do with the trees. So it's the magic system that came to me first. Whereas what if the, redwood trees have magic and kind of are giving magic to this coven of witches in the town. And they all have magic based on the redwood trees, based on the properties of those trees. So, someone in the coven can regenerate the same way that trees can regrow limbs, mm-hmm. Regrow branches. So that idea kind of formed the coven. And then I knew there had to be some sort of cozy mystery. So then, yeah, it kind of just fell into place after that.
That's great. We have a lot of small towns around here. And so I don't want to be every small town is the same, but they all have very similar qualities. Everybody knows each other. There's that one store everybody goes to. Nobody wants to see that particular store close. We go here for this, but there for that, even if they're the same kind of store. I do love seeing that on page, just because that exists around me as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That kind of feel is exactly the place my mom used to live. So it's like there's just that one, there's the one gas station and like two competing convenience stores. So it's like it's very cozy, and I'm hoping it feels authentic because that is like those are real places.
Yes, it does. It feels very authentic to me. I live between two small towns, so it's perfect. So, Brewed with Love also celebrates LGBTQ plus representation, which ties into your work as an attorney helping homeless youth. Did any experiences from that role directly influence the characters or the themes?
That's a great question. Nothing directly influenced it. I think where I draw most of my inspiration from for my characters is kind of like their hopefulness and their liveliness. And, all of my clients are unhoused youth, and they have like so much spirit. And I think that idea of like keeping hope alive, even in like, kind of dire situations, is something that I carry throughout the book. So I think that's kind of how I would, say I've been influenced by my job, is that none of my characters are completely like downtrodden with their circumstances. Not that that's not absolutely okay to be, but I try to keep the hope and the excitement up. So yeah.
And then we did touch on this just a little bit, but there's a big role in the story that the setting plays. And you did mention like your mom kind of grew up around that, lives around that. So I think you kind of touched on how you chose that. So I'm going to skip over that question and just kind of go like, what do you think that it adds to the narrative?
The setting?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think so. What I really wanted was for Black Claw Valley to kind of be like a character in the story. So that town itself is very like alive. We know we know everyone that lives there. Sage kind of like is friends with all of the workers in town, and that idea of community kind of comes back into play later on in the story. So I won't spoil it for you, but there is that idea of community, and that's like one of the main themes I would say in the story. So we do see Sage like reach out to her community and utilize those connections that she has in order to change and succeed. So
I love that.
Yeah.
So that brings us to the very first game of the podcast. And, new year, new games. I've made this one up over the holidays when I should have been spending time with my loving family, but oops, oh well. So this one is called Space 'em or Embrace 'em. It's the game of tropes, plot devices, genres, and even character archetypes that we love and those that we want to launch into a black hole. So I will be giving you some popular tropes, and you're going to be telling me if it's staying on the ship with you or if it's getting shot out the airlock. And of course there is a catch. There's always a catch in every game that we play. You can only keep 4.
Okay.
And you can only see 2 at a time as they come up on the screen. And before you even ask, yes, you can shoot them all into space if you want. You're like, no, these tropes are terrible. They can all go. So the first 2 are The Chosen One and Love Triangles.
Shoot them into space.
Both of them right out the airlock.
Oh.
Right off the bat. The next 2 are Magical School and the Loyalty and Betrayal tropes.
I like both, but I'm concerned that I only can choose 4. Okay. Shoot them into space.
Both of them also into space.
Oh.
The Anti-Hero and Horror.
They're staying. Both of them are staying.
Both of them are staying. Anti-hero stays, horror stays. So you have 2 spaces left and more options. So we have graphic novels and rags to riches.
Space.
Both of them in space.
Oh.
And the last option that comes up is small towns.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Can I grab one that I shot back into
No,
space?
it's gone. It's gone. It went out the airlock. It's in the vacuum of space for forever. You can't.
Okay,
have you
I
ever
only
seen
have
stuff
3.
get launched out the airlock? It's gone.
I have.
It just goes.
There's no tether.
There's no tether. There's no tether. It's just gone.
Completely merciless with shoving all of them out.
Yes.
I
Oh
was,
my
like,
goodness.
Scared that I was gonna like have 50 to choose from.
Oh my god.
Okie dokie. So, what do you find most difficult about writing, and how do you approach overcoming those challenges?
That's great. Actually, so much. I would say the first challenge that comes to mind, honestly, is having time to write. Because I'm an attorney, so I do have to work during the day, and then I try to write during lunch, but then I also try to go to the gym during lunch and do other things like during that time period. And I do write at night, but I also try to decompress. So it's kind of really difficult to try to find time to write and make sure that it's enough time to actually be worthwhile and not just 20 minutes and kind of, never even getting anywhere.
Yeah.
So that's my big struggle, I guess you could say. And then the other challenging thing, honestly, is usually the magic systems for me. I like magic, and I love that. I love that magic can be a metaphor for so many different things. But it's hard to make sure that the magic system is actually making sense and that other people can understand what's going on in what I see happening.
To be fair, magic systems are hard to create.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Not only by yourself, but Maggie and I tried to write one together, and we were both let's make it insanely complicated, but also no, let's not do that. And then we found we had way more questions than answers, and I think, we, as readers, we're all like, oh, well, this magic system makes no sense, how dare you? But if you ever try making a magic system, you'll find there's so much to it, and it's not just well, she has this power and it comes from X. You have a lot of who, what, where, when, whys, and everything else, and that's definitely a struggle I have with my own fantasy writing.
Yeah, I think that's the big struggle for most fantasy writers, and it's kind of how much do you use, and is this relevant to the story? Mm-hmm. So that's something I'm constantly thinking of as I'm as I'm drafting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I hope it gets easier, but I don't think it will.
Yeah. And the other thing I want to say about magic systems is as you get there, you have to find a way for it not to be magic ex machina, right? It can't just come up and solve problems, and sometimes it just causes more problems than it's worth having a magic system, and you're like, you know what? Contemporary, nobody has powers. The end. No dragons, no castles.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that hurts my heart. No dragons, no castles, no magic. Ugh. Yeah.
I didn't say I like it. I just said it feels like I might want to do that.
Yeah.
I would never, because boo, no magic, no dragons. Boo, boo. But yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So your characters are so vivid and relatable. What's your approach to developing them, and do they ever surprise you?
Thank you. Well, as I kind of was mentioning, like I like the idea of like bringing in a lot of joy and a lot of spirit into my characters. Um, so I'm glad that comes across. They surprise me all the time. I kind of am. I like to say that I'm a plotter, which I do plot like the structure, but I don't really plot on a scene level. Um, I plot like by chapter maybe, or like by like larger scale, like first act, second act type of thing, which gives me space to explore and to have my characters kind of like make decisions and get into trouble. And they definitely surprise me. I think um, mostly I'm surprised when in the romance when it's like I'm feeling like, oh, this scene is like they're really getting close. And I'm checking, checking my timestamps and seeing like where we are in the story. So that's always a surprise, like how easy it is for the characters to kind of fall together and like pull
Mm-hmm.
apart. Um, so yeah, that's definitely like the exploration part. I'm like, oh wow, they're having a really cute moment, but it's not the midpoint,
Mm-hmm.
so
Right, right.
better not have them get together.
And then finally, how do you balance writing with your demanding day job as an attorney?
Yeah, I honestly am still figuring that out, but I I write on the weekends a lot, so
Hmm.
that's kind of like my uninterrupted time. And I like to write on Friday nights, which was like last night for me. So I do try to write when I know that I'm gonna have several hours. And then I think I'm a little bit strange in the sense that I don't write if I'm not actively like trying, like actively on deadline, or if I'm not trying to like draft something new. Like I don't, if I have a book idea, I don't immediately start working on that, even if I
Hmm.
have the time. Like I like to take breaks. I try to only draft once or twice a year. I can't like churn out multiple books a year. Um, and I think that gives me several months of like breathing room, which is what I really
Right.
need.
Alrighty, so this is a favorite game here at Booked All Night, and it's Never Have I Ever Spoiled My Own Book. The game is simple. I'm going to give you 9 lovely little prompts that you may or may not have done, and all with bookish and writerly themes. If you have done 5 or more, you must spoil something about Brewed with Love.
Okay.
And as a warning, we are not above things like never have I ever written a book called Brewed with Love.
Got it. Got it.
Alrighty, so number 1, never have I ever not finished a book I started.
Um, I have done that.
Haven't we all? Uh, Number 2, never have I ever rewritten a scene or chapter multiple times until I was satisfied.
I've done that.
It's two.
Number 3, never have I ever read a book because it was popular even though I knew I wouldn't like it.
Yeah, I've done that.
Never have I ever bought a book on release day.
I have.
Never have I ever lost track of time while reading and stayed up way too late.
Yes.
That is
I have.
5.
That is 5. We still got 4 more to find out.
These are rigged.
Yes. Yes, I fully admit this game is rigged. There's
You
no
heard it here
hiding it.
first, folks.
Yeah. You heard it here first and second and third. I admit it every time we play this game. This game is rigged.
All right, let's finish out. Never have I ever written fan fiction.
I have.
Never have I ever binge read an entire series in one sitting.
I have not.
Ooh.
I find that a little hard to do. You know, you've got like several books.
That's a lot. Yeah,
that's a lot.
I think that's like 10, 12 hours if it's...
Yeah, if we're not like talking about like middle grade or something shorter.
Yeah, I think it like ultimately depends on the series, because there have definitely been ones where like, especially when I was in high school, right? I bought like full series of Forgotten Realms, and I would just be like, yeah, let me read 9 books this weekend. It's totally fine. I don't need a social life. But like, I don't think I could do that with Tolkien, right? And like, I did that for a class. I still don't think that I could just do that in a single sitting. So like, but give me a middle grade series, I'll read that in a day. So
Yes, yeah, that's fair.
Never have I ever used a book as a prop for a social image.
Yeah.
I don't think you can be on, Book Talk, Bookstagram, anything without sharing pictures of your own books and your
I
shelves.
fully admit the game is rigged, right? I've said that. The game is rigged.
Yeah.
I don't deny this.
And finally, never have I ever written in a book, which includes underlining, highlighting, and making notes in the margins.
I do that every time, yes.
Really? I always feel like I want to, but I feel so like it's sacrilegious. I don't want to write in a book.
I do it with pencil because it makes it feel better, but I never go back and erase it. So I don't know why I'm doing that with pencil. Like
give me a PDF of whatever I'm reading, and that I will highlight and write and whatnot. But it's the physical book. I spend good money on that. I want to keep it in pristine condition.
Yeah, that's fair.
Well, see, that's my thing, right? I spent my good money, actually right now, because I'm broke beyond belief. I spent my husband's good money on the book, and it's mine to do with as I please. Like, I don't write in library books. I don't write in books that I borrow. I don't, like, those aren't my books. That I don't have the right to write in those.
I think if I ever learned that you wrote in a library book or a book that you borrowed from like me, I think our friendship would just be over, and with no hope for recovery at that point, because that is just only an animal does that, Jessica.
Yeah, seriously, I feel like the quote here now is like, I can excuse dog-earing pages, but I draw the line at writing in books that aren't yours, and somebody in the corner goes, you can excuse dog-earing pages.
All right, so our last couple of questions. What are some of your all-time favorite books or authors, and do they influence your writing style?
Oh, that's really a great question. Yes, I have a lot, honestly. And some of them influence my writing style, and then some of them I think I'm just indulgent, and I just read without even thinking about writing, if that makes sense. Like, I'm just reading for like pure pleasure. But I really like Leigh Bardugo. I think like she's like a fave. What I really enjoy about her writing is that it feels like every character is like very well rounded and like very like fleshed out, and like has a backstory and has like this like, you know, like character wound, and it's just like very like admirable, I guess. Like, I wish my characters felt like that. And I really like reading Alexis Henderson. She writes horror. Most recently, I think Academy of Liars was one of was released this year, and she's someone I read just for fun, just for pleasure. Like, but I think. I love a horror book. And then Caitlin Starling is also another horror writer that I just like read for fun. And yeah, I'm like an auto buy. And yeah, I think those are like 3 people on the top of my head. I have so many more, but yeah.
I always think it's funny that like the people that write like cozy mysteries and cozy fantasies and like these sweet little stories are like, yeah. And so on the weekends I read things where people are brutally murdered and monsters pop out of the closet. And then I go right back to writing about sunshine and rainbows and unicorns.
You need that dichotomy in your life, the variance, you can't have light without the dark, kind of, you know.
It's funny, like, my, like, favorite authors are, like, just, like, pure horror. Like,
yeah. I mean, as I used to say in my MFA program, after reading things where people die horribly, hi, I'm Jess, I write for children. So nice to meet you. Yes.
Distinctly remember the question coming up in regards to you, how much murder is too much murder?
The answer is 7.
7.
7. The answer is 7. For one of my...
Specifically for middle grade, I think.
Yes, it was... Yeah, it was... I had started a piece, was a gender-swapped Sherlock Holmes for my master's project. And then I wanted to move it up to YA, because that's where all the sex, drugs, and rock and roll is. And I was like, I could get away with a little bit more than what I'm doing. And originally, people were getting suspended randomly for, like, little infractions, right? Somebody chewed gum, you're getting expelled, and people were like, that's, excessive. And then I moved it up to YA, and I was like, oh, well, all of these expulsions can now be murders. And I basically just did, like, a find and replace. And then I was reading through it, and I was like, how do none of the adults have concerns that all of these kids are dead in, like, 2 months? And that was when we came to like, oh, how much murder is too much murder before somebody notices something's going on? And the answer is 7. 7 murder in 2 months, and somebody notices that something is going on. So I had to drop down some of the murder.
Fortunately.
Fortunately, I dropped down some of the murder, exactly. It just came down. So our next question is, if somebody were to write your biography, what is one quirky or unexpected detail that you would want them to include?
I would want them to include that I also oil paint.
Ooh.
I'm an oil painter.
Oil paints are hard, man. Like, good on you. I just did a bunch of illustration classes, and some of the people like to use oils, like stuff's due Monday, and they have to be done 2 weeks ago, so it's dry. Like,
yeah, that's fair. I think there's ways to kind of like, to speed up the drying time, but it's not a medium that's like a last minute, like last minute attempts. Definitely not. No, like they take a long time.
Crazy and messy. Like, my classmates would come in just covered in paint and like, oh, you came back from the oil studio? Yes. They always kind of look like somebody got caught out in the rain, but the rain was oil paints, and it's just all over their clothes. Like,
it's like so hard to like keep that off of you. I don't know.
Yeah. And there's phthalo, like the phthalo blues and phthalo greens. Like, if you get those on you, be prepared to have them on you for life, because they will immediately stain anything that they touch. And like, I still actually have I don't know if you can see it on but under my camera sucks, you can't see it under there, but I still have phthalo paint under my fingernail that will not come out.
Wow.
From months ago. And like, I have scrubbed. That stuff is there.
It's part of you now.
It's a part of me now. It's a feature, not a bug. It's there.
All right. Our second to last question. If you could recommend one underrated book that everyone should read, what would it be and why?
Underrated? Ooh, that's difficult. I don't know. I would say, like, a book I would recommend is probably one that, like, most people have heard of. Can I like quickly check my Goodreads?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Let me see.
Lord knows I check everybody's Goodreads and stalk you guys for playing these games.
I'm like, let's see if I can find. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure if any of these are underrated because I'm pretty sure everyone has heard of these. But a book that I can tell you a book I really, really loved and that I'm sure everybody has read by now. I'll give you two, just in case. But so last year I read This Is How You Lose the Time War, which was absolutely amazing. I think before it kind of like, I don't know, had this explosion on Twitter. It might have been like overlooked, and someone was like, "Don't look anything up about this book, just read it," and that got like, you know, 1 million likes on Twitter. And then you remember that, yeah? And then it was like,
I think it was like his name was Big as Dickus or something ridiculous.
Yeah,
was it really?
Yeah, like just like
it was something
like yeah.
He had like a One Piece icon as his avatar, and it became a hit.
And then it like was like back on the bestseller list. Like it was like a bestseller like that next week. And it's like, so I think like that was, and I read it and it was such a fantastic book. I would definitely recommend it. Don't look anything up. Just buy it. Just read it.
Just buy it. I wish more bookworms put stuff out like that they're just like, don't look anything up. Don't read the back copy.
Yeah, don't read
just
the
open
copy.
this book and read it. Just read it.
Just start.
Because there are so many books that like I've never read, but I know the entire plot to them thanks to the internet. And I'm like, but now I can't read it and enjoy that. You have ruined this for me. The only fandom that I accept that from is the ACOTAR fandom, because the memes coming out of them are just perfect. I love a fandom that makes fun of itself. Like, you guys are gold. I love it. And then we end every interview with shout outs for all the lovely people that helped us get published and get the book out there. So are there any fellow writers, agents, editors, or any publishing friends or professionals that you would like to thank today?
Yeah, and I hope I thank them in my acknowledgments. I have like a long list in there as well. But obviously shout out to my agent, Rebecca Potos, amazing. And my editor, Bria Reagan, for taking a chance on me. And I have a lot of author friends that have read different versions of Brewed With Love that I hope I mentioned in the acknowledgments. But Jenna Miller was someone that told me about outlining, which I think like has really changed the game for my writing career. And I like use the outline that she recommended like years ago. And then Jen St. Jude is someone that like has read a version of this book and that is going to be part of my book tour in 2 weeks. So I'm really grateful that I get to talk with Jen about the book. And yeah, there's so many people, honestly. I cannot keep track. But I think just like anyone that follows me on social media and that has been like really supportive and like, you know, if it's Twitter retweeting or like posting, you know, and tagging me in posts on Instagram, has just been like fantastic to see all the love and support I'm getting for this book. So,
oh yay.
Yeah.
That's exciting. And just to check, Brewed With Love comes out January 14th, so pretty soon.
Yeah, it comes out in 10 days.
Oh, my goodness. Ooh. Do you have any, like, pub day plans?
I do. I will be in New York at Books of Wonder, and that's where I'm having my launch event. So if you're in New York, please come. I believe the event starts at 6. And it's a joint launch event, so we'll be celebrating Brewed With Love and Liar's Kingdom. And then I am going to be in Chicago that next day. Chicago's my hometown. So I will be with Jen St. Jude at Anderson's Bookshop talking about Brewed. And then I will be back in California and at several places here, actually. In LA that following week, I will be at the Rip Bodice. But I'll be at Mysterious Galaxy on Thursday, I think.
Got a busy couple of weeks for this.
Yeah.
That is nuts.
Yeah, it's a lot of traveling.
Country.
Yeah. Just two plane rides. But
too many plane rides. Too many plane rides.
Yeah.
No.
You don't like plane rides?
I am not a fan, no.
Okay.
Which is funny because, like, I used to go flying with my dad as a kid, and, like, I was fine as long as I was flying the plane, but I don't like anybody else's takeoff or landing. Nobody does it right. You guys all suck. And like, once we're up in the air, I'm fine, but those two moments are, like, my heart explodes. It's not great. That's a wrap on this episode of Booked All Night. We'd love for you to be a part of the conversation, so don't forget to rate the show, drop a comment, and share your thoughts in the episode poll. And remember, subscribing means you'll never miss an episode or interview as we launch into more amazing stories together. Booked All Night is produced by Rob Cook and his cats. So when you share your favorite episode, be sure to tag us at Booked All Night Pod on Threads, Instagram, and Facebook, and say hi to our guy in the sound booth. For more information, like reading schedules and dates on our upcoming interviews, check out the link in the show notes. That's link.bio/bookedallnight. lnk.bio/bookedallnight for those of you who don't check the show notes. Until next time, my little Libernauts, this is Jessica Mary, Leigh, Magdalyn Ann, and producer Rob signing off and reminding you to stay booked all night.